Hello and a very warm welcome to Moneycontrol. I am Shweta Punj. The IMD has come out with its monsoon forecast, which is very, very crucial for the Indian economy, as nearly 40% of our farm sector still depends on monsoons for irrigation, and that accounts for nearly 44% of food production. Well, that's actually 56% of our net cultivated area is dependent on irrigation. So, this is a very, very important barometer for us to get a sense of how this will play out in the economy and, of course, how will it impact recovery. To understand in greater detail what this forecast means for India and how will it translate into in terms of our farmers, in terms of inflation, in terms of rural demand and recovery. I'm joined by Mr. DS Pai from the IMD, Mr. Gunvant Patil Hangargekar of AIKCC, and Mr. Pushan Sharma of CRISIL. Thank you very much for joining us, all three of you. Mr. Pai, let me begin with you. Can you just take us through the IMD forecast very quickly? How significant is this, and how do we read into it?
See, we had started the forecast in April saying that season as a whole it will be normal and quantitatively around 96 percentage, and we maintained that forecast in the update and in May, and had said that the June rainfall will be below normal, that is less than 92, and the realized rainfall was 91 percentage. And in the month of June, during the first half, or in fact first 3 weeks, we had a rainfall activity mainly only over northwest India, and in all other part we had a very less rainfall activity, but it picked up in the last week of June, and then it continued very good rainfall activity throughout the July. And as of now, we have, as of till today, it is 104 percentage of the long period average. And if you see the distribution, except eastern northeast India, where the rainfall deficiency is around 25 percentage, in all other regions rainfall is more than normal. Over northwest India, it is 28 percentage more than normal, and in the central India is more than 11 percentage, and peninsula it is more than 4 percentage.
Okay, so
Now,
let's. Yes, sorry, sir. Finish. Do finish your point.
yeah, now that we are expecting during the next 2 months, the rainfall is likely to be normal, that is between 94 percentage to 106 percentage, with a tendency to be in the negative. That means there is more possibility for rainfall to be 94 to 100 percentage. And in the next month, that is August, we are expecting below normal rainfall, that is less than
Right.
94 percentage. So in place of a very good rainfall in the activity in July, we are expecting at least for the next 2 weeks or so, the rainfall activity will be less. But however, the region over eastern part, where so far the rainfall activity was very less, like Bihar, West Bengal, Jharkhand, etc., the rainfall is likely to be picked up.
Okay, let me go across to you, Prashant. How are you reading into this? Because this is also, it does weak rainfall in the month of August raises concerns over the kharif crop. It raises concerns over pulses. How worrying is it?
Right. So if we look at the rainfall situation, like Mr. Pai said, all India level we are more than 4%. But what even with a moderately lower rainfall forecast in August, the situation does not appear very concerning for overall Kharif season. And the reason I say that is because July had 13% more rainfall than normal, so the soil moisture content is reasonably good. So it can tolerate moderately low rainfall in August. And overall crop production for Kharif season, we're expecting a YOY increase. Having said that, there are concerns in slight pockets, specifically in pulses. This crop is grown to a very large extent, over 50% comes from Maharashtra and Karnataka, specifically in Tur. and that region saw very low rainfall in the month of June. It is a crop that is sown early, and now the sowing window is largely over for this crop. So it's not that we can see a recovery. So there we are seeing a decline in sowing by about 16%. Production is also likely to decline in that similar range. And it is already reflecting in prices. If you see prices for tur, they're about 31% higher on a YOY level. And we're also seeing that, for the other crops, paddy being the chief crop for the Kharif season, we're not seeing a meaningful impact on the paddy crop. We're seeing that the production should be higher on here.
So pulses is an area of concern that you're pointing out. When it comes to other kharif crops, you're saying that there's enough moisture in the soil, so it should hold. It should not be such a big matter of concern. Mr. Patil, let me go across to you. आप मुझे बता रहे थे कि कैसे आपके डिस्ट्रिक्ट में महाराष्ट्र में 70% एक्सेस रेनफॉल हुआ है अभी तक, और आप समझा रहे थे मुझे कि कैसे आपने ओवर द इयर्स पैटर्न चेंज होते हुए देखा है. तो अभी जो आईएमडी का फोरकास्ट आया है कि अगस्त में बारिश थोड़ी कम होगी, उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या रहेगा ऑन ग्राउंड?
अभी देखिए कि मैं आपको पहले ही बता रहा था कि हम लोग एक महीना पूरा सीजन शिफ्ट कर रहे हैं, ऐसा गए 6 साल से मैं देख रहा हूँ. जैसे जून 7 को हम सोचते थे कि मृग नक्षत्र शुरू हो गया और उस दिन से हम सोइंग के लिए तैयारी करते थे, लेकिन वैसा नहीं हो रहा. अभी जून तो बारिश का महीना रहा ही नहीं और हम लोग जुलाई ही कंसिडर कर रहे हैं और जुलाई में सोइंग वगैरह हो रहा है. तो एक महीना हम लोग शिफ्ट कर रहे हैं इस तरीके से कि हम अपनी प्राइवेट मीटिंग में बोलते हैं कि भाई इसके कारण हमको त्योहार भी आगे शिफ्ट करना पड़ेगा. जैसे अभी शर्मा जी ने कहा कि पल्सेस का एरिया, जैसे महाराष्ट्र है, मेरा एरिया भी है, ये पल्सेस का एरिया है. मतलब मूंग उड़द वगैरह जो है इसी खरीफ में ही लगाई जाती है. लेकिन अभी मेरे डिस्ट्रिक्ट का ऐसा है कि 70% बारिश एकदम ज़्यादा हो गई ए महीने के कंपेयर में. जो जुलाई में बारिश का जो एवरेज आना चाहिए तो 70% ज़्यादा होने से कुछ खेत खराब भी हो गए, सोयाबीन भी हमारे पास खराब हो गया, क्योंकि सोयाबीन बहुत सेंसिटिव क्रॉप है, उसको ज़्यादा पानी भी नहीं चलता और कम भी नहीं चलता है. और ऐसे जो फसल है उस पर बहुत सारा परिणाम होने वाला है. इस तरीके से हम लोग बारिश को प्रिडिक्ट करके, जैसे पाइक साहब ने प्रिडिक्शन दिया, उनका काम क्या है कि एक फ़ोटो निकाल के वो दे देना है, उसमें चेंज तो नहीं कर सकते. अब उसमें हमको चेंज करना है और या पॉलिसीज़ में चेंज होना है कि आगे क्या होने वाला है उसके हिसाब से चलना चाहिए. अभी इरिगेशन की बात हम लोग कर रहे हैं तो महाराष्ट्र तो इरिगेशन 18% से ज़्यादा बढ़ा ही नहीं पूरे महाराष्ट्र में. अभी तेलंगाना और आंध्रा का अगर हम लोग देखते हैं तो आंध्रा इसलिए सेपरेट हुआ, तेलंगाना इसलिए सेपरेट मांगा कि उनके पास ज़्यादा इरिगेशन है, इनके पास इरिगेशन नहीं है. उस टाइम मैं 1990 की बात कर रहा हूँ, उस टाइम से देखता हूँ तो उनके पास पूरा जब आंध्र प्रदेश था 38% इरिगेशन था. अभी तेलंगाना भी इरिगेशन की तरफ बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस हुआ है. महाराष्ट्र जैसा स्टेट अभी उतना फोकस नहीं हुआ है. ऐसे बहुत सारी चेंजेस है जो वेदर को देखते हुए हमको कंट्रोल फार्मिंग की तरफ कैसे बढ़ना चाहिए इसके बारे में सोचना.
जी, Pushan, I'd like to come across to you. So, what kind of an impact do you see of poor rains in the first 2 weeks of August and the monsoon forecast? The implications of that on agricultural productivity, because that is going to impact rural demand. It's going to impact agricultural incomes and so on. What's your assessment?
Right. If we go by the current forecast, which is moderately lower than normal, then we don't see a meaningful impact across most commodities. However, if there is a larger deficiency in rainfall in August, specifically the first 2 months, then certain short duration crops like moong, urad, soybean, these will be in their late vegetative growth and pod formation stage in August, and they're likely to be harvested in September. That there could be some flower abortion in these crops, and that could lead to lower productivity. But that is only if the monsoon in August is deficient to a larger extent than forecasted by IMD. Another very critical crop for the Kharif season is cotton. And if there is dry weather, that leads to more pink bollworm infestation. The crop has been, dealing with this infestation for the last 3-4 years. But dry weather is where it sort of increases, and that is also likely in case of cotton.
Hmm. Let me go across to Mr. Pai. Mr. Pai, thoda, if you could just put this weather forecast into perspective for us. Over the years, as Mr. Patil was pointing out, that there has been a consistent change in the weather patterns. Can you take us through that?
See, he's right in the sense that, so we had updated onset of monsoon, in last in 2020 actually, the new normals we had brought. So you might have seen that though the monsoon onset normal date over Kerala is still 1st June, but thereafter the progress has been slower than the earlier, and particularly over the central India, including Maharashtra, etc. But once that almost 1 week, 2 days to 1 week delay in the monsoon onset there. But once it reaches to northwest India, the progress is very fast. So instead of covering monsoon covering around 15th of July, monsoon now over the northwest India covers by the normal date is 8th July. And at the same time, withdrawal of the monsoon earlier used to be around 1st September from the northwest India. Now it is around 15th September, which means that in the whereas in the northwest India the number of rainy days, the monsoon period has increased. Central
Right.
India, that it has moved almost 1 week or so, but not much difference in other part. Okay, so thereby actually there has been slight shift in the progress of the monsoon. And coming to the rainfall distribution, now because of the climate change and other aspect, whenever it rains, actually it rains like very heavy rainfall. So now the rainfall is in terms of heavy or very heavy rainfall, and then there is a long gap of dry period. So that is the impact of climate change that also being observed in the rainfall distribution. So we have to go with this actually along with the shift in the progress of the monsoon, and as well as the overall pattern of the rainfall where you are getting more heavy rainfall and
Sure.
with a long period of dry period.
So, Pushan, let me go across to you. Mr. Patil had raised this point about policy interventions that need to evolve with this changing pattern. If you could take us through some of the interventions that have been made in recent times and going forward to enable Indian farmers to cope with this changing weather pattern, what, according to you, can the government do?
Right. I think farming is such a complicated topic. There are about 50% of our population that is engaged in farming. The produce is consumed by the rest of the population. The government always needs to walk a very tight rope between inflation and income of the farmer. In fact, if you see high food inflation, in many cases means better income for the farmers. Over the last couple of years, if you see some of the policy measures have been sort of here and now measures to address inflation. For example, last year when the wheat prices started moving beyond MSP, we saw export curbs being put for wheat. We've seen similar curbs being put for onion in 2019 when the retail prices had touched 100 rupees per
Right.
kg. Closer now, we saw that same thing for rice, whether rice has been banned. But all of these do is it reduces the income potential of the farmers, and it's unfortunate for the farming community. But the government also needs to control inflation on the other hand. Now, some
Right.
of these aspects that we spoke about, which are weather related, these need structural policy decisions where we might not see the impact for the next 1 or 2 years, but over a period of time. And protected farming is one of those aspects, although a very expensive solution. But the low-hanging fruit on the farming side are better farm gate infrastructure, sorting, grading, infrastructure, which lets the farmers store their produce. So when the prices start plummeting, they do not need to take it to the market immediately, right? We saw that in the case of onion in the month of February, where the crop matured early and the farmers had to take it to the market immediately. We need better sorting, grading, and storage infrastructure. I think this is the low-hanging fruit for farmers to be able to store their produce before, if the prices are extremely low in the market.
Right. Mr. Patil, can you tell us, how do farmers cope on ground when such situations happen? जैसे आपने बताया 70% excess rainfall, fields are inundated with water, पानी भरा हुआ है, तो मतलब farmers कैसे manage करते हैं ऐसे, जब ऐसी weather patterns change होते हैं और आपकी incomes पे क्या असर पड़ता है?
इसके पहले मैं थोड़ी ये भी बात करना चाहूँगा कि जैसे my mentor, Mr. Sharad Joshi, he used to say, feed the feeder first, he will feed the world. तो हमें किसानों को बचाना है, तब हमको खेती का और किसानों को बचाना है, तब वो सब वर्ल्ड को बचा सकता है। तो अभी ये है कि जैसे शर्मा जी कह रहे थे कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में हमको करना है, जैसे पैच का भी वो कह रहे थे, वो मैं कितने दिन से ये बोल रहा हूँ कि इसमें प्रोसेसिंग, ग्रेडिंग, ये सब चीज़ें अभी खुला कर देना चाहिए। क्योंकि मैं रिफॉर्म्स की जब बात करता हूँ तो पूरे रिस्ट्रिक्शंस ये इंडस्ट्रीज पे क्यों हैं? क्योंकि एसेंशियल कमोडिटी एक्ट के कारण इतना सारा रिस्ट्रिक्शन इधर आ जाता है कि इसमें फार्मर्स को सर्वाइव करना मुश्किल हो जाता है। इसमें इतने लाइसेंस की जरूरत नहीं थी। सैनिटरी, फाइटोसैनिटरी मेजर्स जैसे क्लीनलीनेस, इसके लाइसेंस जरूरी है, बाकी हर चीज की लाइसेंस की जरूरी नहीं रहने के कारण फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्रीज में हम बहुत लैगिंग है और कुछ भी नहीं है। इसके बाद आप रहा फार्मर्स ऐसी कंडीशन में कैसे चलते हैं। 2008 में हमने बड़ा सेमिनार लेके कहा था कि जो आकाश के नीचे, मतलब आसमान के नीचे वाली खेती करना मुश्किल हो जाएगा और हमें आच्छादित खेती, कवर वाली खेती या ग्रीन हाउसेस, पॉली हाउसेस, इसकी तरफ हमको बढ़ना पड़ेगा। इसके लिए हमको जब तक स्ट्रक्चर, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इसमें हम लोग ध्यान नहीं देंगे, ये नहीं होगा। अगर नहीं होने के कारण क्या हो रहा है, कंट्रोल फार्मिंग जब तक आप नहीं करेंगे और हर बार आसमान की तरफ देखते हुए फार्मर्स का फोटो हम छपाते जाएंगे, तो ये ऐसे ही रहेगा। तो राम भरोसे हिंदू होटल वैसा बोलते हैं ना, वैसे मुहारा हमारा बन गया है। इसके लिए हमको इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में जब तक नहीं करते वो नहीं होगा। अभी जो फार्मर कर रहा है, तो जो भी अब बारिश ज्यादा हो गई रोएगा, कुछ तो मदद मांगेगा सरकार के पास, वो भी हेक्टर में आएगी। उसके पास 50 एकड़ जमीन है तो खाली 1 हेक्टर या 2 हेक्टर की मदद मिलेगी, बाकी कुछ नहीं मिलेगा। ऐसा अगर हो रहा है तो सरकार उसको मदद देने के बजाय इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में अगर पॉलिसी मेकिंग में चेंज करती है तो उस दिशा में सरकार को जाना चाहिए, तभी ये सब प्रॉब्लम्स सॉल्व हो सकते हैं। जैसे क्रॉप चेंज के बाद
फार्मर इनकम्स के बारे में बताइए मुझे।
फार्मर इनकम तो बहुत ही पुअर है। अभी फार्मर जो बचा हुआ है उसको कुछ नहीं आता है दूसरे क्षेत्र में, इसलिए यहाँ पे है। बाप के नाम की जमीन इसके नाम पे है, इसलिए यहाँ पे रुका हुआ है। वो कभी भी खेती छोड़ने के लिए तैयार है। जैसे यूएस में 2% लोग बचे हैं, 98% खेती छोड़ के बाहर निकल गए हैं, और 2% लोगों को बचाने के लिए यूएस गवर्नमेंट 35% सब्सिडी देके उनको रुका के रखी है। फार्मिंग ये व्यवसाय बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट व्यवसाय है, और इसमें अगर आपको उसको रखना है तो उसको आपको ज्यादा फैसिलिटीज देना पड़ेगा और जानबूझ के ज्यादा फैसिलिटी देके उसको रुकाना पड़ेगा। अगर उसको रुकाना पड़े, नहीं रुकाएंगे तो जब भी उसको चांस मिलेगा तो छोड़ के बाहर निकल जाएगा।
तो जैसे अभी हम देख रहे हैं वेदर चेंजेस हो रहे हैं, इससे आपकी इनकम्स कम होती हैं, लेकिन इन्फ्लेशन के टाइम पे फार्मर इनकम्स बेटर होती है। यही मिस्टर पुशन ने भी बोला। तो ऐसा रियली प्ले आउट करता है ऑन ग्राउंड पे? जैसे अभी हमको सुनने में आ रहा है कि टोमेटो ग्रोअर्स कोई मिलियनेयर बन गया है, ये सब हमको स्टोरी सुनने में आ रही है।
ये स्टोरी है ना, एक्सेप्शनल्स को आप सार्वजनिक नहीं बना सकते, और ये सक्सेस स्टोरी का ऐसे ही चांस रहता है। जैसे बहुत सारे ऐसे आजकल नया कंपनी आते हैं और वो खाली सक्सेस स्टोरी बोलते हैं, तो वो सक्सेस स्टोरी नॉट इवन 10%, 1%, 2% लोग कभी तो चांस लग जाता है। अभी फार्मर्स का भी आप एवरेज इनकम निकालेंगे तो कम से कम उसका एवरेज इनकम 4 साल का निकालना पड़ता है, क्योंकि एक सीजन अच्छी आ जाती है, 3 सीजन में वो अंदर हो जाता है। इसलिए ये जो सक्सेस स्टोरी है ये कोई नहीं है, 1-2 स्टोरी से पूरे लोगों को लगा के रखना बिल्कुल है। आप अगले साल आप सुनेंगे कि टमाटर रास्ते पे फेंका जा रहा है, सरकार क्या कर रहे है, पूरा लाल रास्ता हो गया है, एक न्यूज आप कल ही आप ही देंगे। तो इस तरीके का नहीं चलता, ये नहीं है, ग्राउंड लेवल पे ऐसा नहीं है। एक दो स्टोरी से उससे नहीं
जी।
होता है। और शहर के बाजू में जो एक आधा फार्मर गए 10 साल से प्रयोग कर रहा था, इस साल में उसको लॉटरी लगी है, ऐसी स्टोरी।
Mr. Pai, is there a sense within the IMD that we need to, India needs to perhaps, expand its capacities to predict weather patterns so that, we can issue warnings to farmers, issue warnings to, stakeholders, or just share the knowledge with them so that they are able to better prepare for such patterns. How is the IMD working on keeping itself ahead of its times?
See, definitely, like any other institution, what service that you are giving, you have to keep on improving, and it should be as per the expectation of the users. So definitely, I agree that we have to keep on improving, and IMD is taking several steps for that. And one is that we are improving our observation network. Now, you can see that thousands of automatic weather stations are being implemented, being installed all over the country. Radar network is, in such a way that we are going within the next 2 years, we will cover almost entire part of the country. As of now, around 70 to 80% of the part of the country is covered. So other 20 parts also. So that will help us in improving nowcast and short range forecast, even lightning forecast, etc. Which actually essentially is a very necessary for even farmers, those who are working in the field. Sometimes farmers die because of lightning, etc. So we also have started giving various type of forecast, not only short range forecast, extended range forecast, seasonal forecast, and also in addition to that, next 3 hours what is likely to happen, very localized forecast. And particularly for agriculture, we are moving from as of now we are providing district wise forecast for the next 5 to 7 days, once in twice in a week. So we are now moving towards block level forecast, that is the demand. So for that we have to further improve our modeling strategy, forecasting strategy, observation network. So under Monsoon mission of Ministry of Earth Sciences, we are working on that, because high resolution models has to be run for that. Now 12 kilometers resolution is being run. That will change into 6 kilometer. So for that you need to very high power computing system. That is process is going on. So overall, IMD is also trying to improve its tools to not only to observe and monitor the weather, forecast the weather, and giving advisories, and also working with concerned agencies to also dissemination of the weather through SMS, or various social media. So those aspects also IMD is doing, working with the
Right.
NDMA, etc., to help the
पाटिल
farmers.
जी, राइट, पाटिल जी, आपको फार्मर्स को खबर मिल जाती है, मौसम की जानकारी मिल जाती है?
नहीं, इंडिविजुअल तो आती ही नहीं है, लेकिन जैसे पाइक साहब कह रहे हैं कि अभी टेक्नोलॉजी में थोड़ा सुधार हो रहा है, और हमको चाहिए कि लोकल लेवल पे, जैसे मैंने यूएस में देखा कि आप घर से बाहर निकलते टाइम हे गूगल हाउ इज वेदर टुडे बोलने के बाद वो बोलेगी कि 10 मिनट में बारिश है, तो बिल्कुल 10 छाता खोल के आप जाइए, बारिश आ जाएगी। इतना उनका प्रोडिक्शन करेक्ट आ जाता है। इस तरीके से हमको भी लोकल लेवल पे, मतलब बिल्कुल हर तालुका प्लेस पे वेदर फोरकास्टिंग का रडार यंत्रणा बिठाओ या कुछ भी बिठाओ, ये इतना एक्यूरेट होना चाहिए कि हम उससे प्रिडिक्ट कर सके। अभी नहीं है, अभी तो हम वेदर फोरकास्टिंग, अभी बहुत सारा सुधार हुआ है, लेकिन पहले तो हम कहते थे कि जब भी फोरकास्टिंग आता है उसके विरुद्ध में होता है। आज बारिश होने वाली है, इसका मतलब पॉलिटिशियन की वजह से कि आज बारिश नहीं होगी, ये अभी नहीं रहा। बहुत सारा इनका आता है, लेकिन पूरा किसान तक ये डेटा नहीं पहुंचता है, या किसान भी उतना अवेयरनेस नहीं है कि भाई कौन सी फसल कैसे वेदर आने वाला है। अभी जो मैं जिस कमेटी पे काम कर रहा हूँ, एमएसपी कमेटी पे, तो उसमें क्रॉप पैटर्न चेंज में हम लोग बहुत सोच रहे हैं कि इंडिया के कितने क्लाइमेट जोन हैं, हर जोन में कौन सी फसलें आनी चाहिए, उसका प्रिडिक्शन किस तरीके से होना चाहिए, और जो फसलें पानी ज़्यादा लेने वाले जैसे गन्ना वगैरह, तो उसको हम लोग कैसे ट्रांसफॉर्म करें, उतनी कीमत किसान को मिले लेकिन
जी
दूसरा फसल उसे मिले। ये सब अभी हो रहा है, लेकिन ये वेदर फोरकास्टिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अगर ठीक से हो जाए तो हम लोग
जी
प्रोडक्शन में बहुत आगे बढ़ सकते हैं।
Gee. Pushan, let me go across to you. You know, do you see this season fueling inflation further, and any policy interventions that you would recommend? We are already importing a lot of pulses. We are, we put export curbs as well. Anything else beyond this, or do you think the government should just let these markets function freely and it will find a level ground at some point on its own?
Right. Coming to the first part of your question as to how do we see the season fueling inflation, we see that because of excessive rainfall in July, the vegetable prices could be slightly elevated in the near term. Tomato, which has been causing a lot of concern in the headlines, it has been making headlines where the prices have shot up to 200 rupees a kg in the retail market. We see that sort of coming down to some extent by end of August, with supplies coming in from Maharashtra and Karnataka. Interestingly, we were talking about tomato and how the prices have shot up so much. But if you just see 6 months back in February, the prices were 2 to 3 rupees a kg. And some of the farmers were not even harvesting the crop because it did not make sense. The cost of harvesting was more than the wholesale price of the crop.
Right.
And that's actually what has led to a decline in production to a very large extent because farmers did not go for that crop. But coming to the inflation part, we see pulses and tomato, in the near term, they causing inflation. Pulses is expected to be sticky even beyond that time period, even when the harvest takes place around September, October. But other than that, we should see prices moderating and things cooling down from October onwards with a better production. The monitorable though remains how monsoon pans out towards the end of September and early October. If there are showers in that period, it could impact the crop productivity. Another aspect to consider is that the festival season is slightly delayed this year as compared to last
Right.
year. We have the Shweta coming on around 24th of October. So the demand is going to peak during the first, the second and third week of October, and that's where the harvest will also be. So from that standpoint, things should be in control to a very large extent.
Okay, so final word to the IMD man here, Mr. Pai. So, is the IMD going to stick to its forecast? Because a lot depends on it. End of September or first week of October, if there are showers, then it's going to be it'll put us in a sticky spot. So, you have the final word here.
Yeah, we are sticking well. We had given for the season to end as a normal between 96 to 104. So as of now, 104, and we are expecting next 2 months rainfall to decrease. So it will come close to our forecast.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. We end this on an optimistic note, and many thanks for joining us. Overall, for now, not such a big cause of worry, or with patchy rains expected in the first 2 weeks of August should not hurt India's agriculture productivity as much as that is what the broad consensus is. Of course, but the government needs to think of policy interventions to help farming cope with changing weather patterns. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching us on Money Control. We'll be back with more news and analysis. Thanks.